which she started actually in '94 with my money, but nonetheless, she started the foundation. And then I joined. I got more and more involved with the foundation as time went on, and now that's my main thing, and I'm pretty proud of the foundation.
Let me focus you more on the mathematics versus the business then. Would you trade any or all of your business success for being the man who cracked the Riemann hypothesis or something like that?
No, that's a good question. Would I trade that for? Well, I'd probably trade some of it. I mean, for the Riemann hypothesis. It would certainly, I guess, be a thrill to solve the Riemann hypothesis. I'm pleased, mostly, with the way my career has gone. Would I trade part of it for something? I don't know. I've never looked back and said, I wish, at least in business, I wish I hadn't done that, or I wish I had done this and not that, whatever it is. I've never looked back that way.
I guess the thing I'm getting at is, what do you define yourself as, a businessman or a mathematician?
Well, I would not be very good at running an ordinary business. If I had to run a big manufacturing business or something like that, I don't think I'd be very good at it. There's a level of detail that I would find tedious. I'm not the best organized person in the world, and frankly, I would be bored. So I'm not your typical businessman. The kind of business that I did run was very natural to me. So in that sense, I was a businessman. I like business, sort of. I always say, what's the important mathematics skill in business is subtraction. You have to understand when your revenues are going to exceed your costs. Some people, they just look at revenues. Hey, we're wrong. Yeah, but you're losing money every day. Well, that'll take care of itself after a while. So, but I don't think I'd be. I once had to, for about 6 months, run a small business in the computer area, a business that we had started, or invested in, and then wasn't going well, and we had to get rid of the head and find someone new, and I found myself running it for about 3 to 6 months, commuting to Philadelphia. And I came to the conclusion, I'm doing a better job than the guy was there before, but I'm not doing a very good job. And I found myself in business meetings like with the distributor from St. Louis and I remember saying, what am I doing, spending my time with some distributor from St. Louis? I mean, this is not the way I want to run my life. Finally, we got someone in. He really knew how to run a business, and then that was that kind of a business. The foundation is focused on support of scientific research, primarily basic science, but not completely, because we have a large autism project, which involves a lot of basic science, but the treatments are a goal. But the rest is support of mathematics, physics, computer science, biology of all sorts, neuroscience, genetics. We support basic science, and that's what we like to do. There's a certain amount of outreach. We have a Math for America program. We spend maybe 10 or 15% on outreach and education, but 85% is support of basic science.
Almost the nature of basic mathematical research is you can't really know where it's going to go.
Right. That's right.
So what are you throwing money at a wall and seeing what sticks, or how targeted are you about it?
Well, to some extent, yes. We have investigator grants, which give outstanding mathematicians and physicists and computer scientists a 10-year run, where they have support for 10 years, and they can use that money for a postdoc or something like that to help their work along. We don't know what work it's going to be. We have no idea. Well, we know what the guy has done, but it's not. These are very, very competitive, and they're just the best people, and it's helping their careers, whatever they might do. We also have collaborative projects that we support. There is a goal, but it can be a rather vague goal, like one is origins of life. Well, we'd like to know how we all got here. How did life originate? Outside, inside, what was the path to life? So there's, 40 or 50 people working on that, and it's a very exciting project. We're making some progress. So there's a goal, but do I think that in the next 5 years we're going to know everything about the origin? No, I don't think so. But we'll learn more about this path that started with, primitive organic molecules and ended up with an interview like this one. So there is a goal, but it's a relatively big goal.
This model of philanthropy, of supporting the basic research and not knowing where it's going to end up, almost seems the opposite of what you were talking about with your business.
Totally.
You were talking about with business, revenues and costs and making sure.
Yeah. Well, yes and no. When we would bring smart guys into Renaissance, we didn't know what they were going to do. We hoped that they'd come up with some good ideas to make the firm better. But I didn't say, this guy is going to discover, I want this guy to discover this thing. I don't know what he's going to discover. But it's of course very focused on a narrow set of outcomes, whereas the other basic science, anything goes, is very different from that.
What's your attitude to risk? Because you almost have created a business that's based on removing risk. Reducing risk. And yet you took a risk by leaving tenure to go and start business. Yeah. I mean, are you a risk taker, or are you a risk minimizer? Or were you? You probably don't have to worry about it.
Well, I suppose as we get older, we get a little more risk averse. I don't know. I'd always been something of a risk taker, I think. But I've had good taste, and especially, again, as I say, in people, and have pretty much always partnered up with people. So that cuts the risk. So, but I did. I certainly, when I started the company, I had to finance it myself, and I didn't know whether it would succeed or not. And But I was pretty sure it would, but I didn't know.
You put a lot of money into mathematics, so you've got some right to comment on it. How are you feeling about it?
Oh, I think mathematics is really going quite well worldwide, the research end of it. A lot of new ideas are coming up, new fields are flourishing. It feels like a pretty healthy enterprise to me. What's not healthy is the state of mathematics education in our country. That's very unhealthy for young people. That's why we started this thing called Math for America and so on. But we don't have enough teachers of mathematics who know it, who know the subject, and even of science. And that's for a simple reason. 30, 40 years ago, if you knew some mathematics, enough to teach, let's say, in high school, there weren't a million other things you could do with that knowledge. Maybe you could become a professor, but let's suppose you're not quite at that level, but you were good at math and so on. Being a math teacher was a nice job. But today, if you know that much mathematics, you can get a job at Google, you can get a job at IBM, you can get a job at Goldman Sachs. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities that are going to pay more than being a high school teacher, right? There weren't so many when I was going to high school, such things. So the quality of high school teachers in math has declined simply because if you know enough to teach in high school, you know enough to work for Google. And, well, they're not going to pay that much in high school. So how do you redress that? How do we redress that as a country? Well, so a person works for a combination of financial reward and respect, right? So a guy becomes Supreme Court Justice. He's not doing it because he's going to make a fortune. He'll be well paid, I suppose, but, Supreme Court Justice, everyone says, that's a big deal. You have a lot of respect, and you respect yourself, presumably. So there are many, so you can't pay, let's say, high school teachers of math as